Thank you so much for all being here today. It's not very aesthetically pleasing, but I'm going to have a glass of water up here, if that's okay, because I've lost my voice slightly, which is slightly inauspicious, but I think we'll power through it with enough lemsip. So it's a real pleasure to be here today. As aforementioned, I lead commercial and go-to-market strategy at Oxa. Very thematic of the day, we also occupy the physical AI space. From our perspective, it's the application of machine learning to the automation of industrial mobile spaces, so deploying autonomy into industrial environments, unlocking value for industrial operators through the deep learning and artificial intelligence associated with autonomy. So very thematic of the day, and really going to focus here on the inevitability of the adoption of this technology. So rattle through in just less than 20 minutes. Why really the conversation now around this technology is about the inevitability of its adoption. It's no longer future dated, it's not an if. Frankly, it's not even a when at this stage. We are actively deployed in industrial environments already, unlocking very significant value for our customers. So pleasure to be here. We probably won't have time for questions at the end, but please do grab me. I'll be around for the rest of the day, and I'll look forward to having those conversations. So as I said, the focus of today's session is on the inevitability of the adoption of this technology. Really, this is focused very much on the value that it brings to our customers, to our fleet operator partners who are looking to unlock very substantial economic gains, operational efficiencies, greater resilience of operation, all of which, frankly, when I walk through some of the key takeaways around one of our example applications, will be very clear, and actually the numbers themselves are so compelling that it's no longer in question that this is a technology that will be of very significant impact to the market. A little bit of background on Oxa. So we're a global autonomous vehicle technology provider. So we provide an end-to-end solution. We're not a software-only play. Autonomy, as it applies to industrial fleets, is really an end-to-end robotics solution. I'll walk through what that actually looks like, because how Oxa is overcoming barriers to mass adoption in these spaces is a really critical part of how we feed into the inevitability of this adoption. But in brief, we span out of Oxford University in 2014, founded by our now CEO, Paul Newman, who is a visionary in the space and a global leader. Some of you may well know him personally, or certainly be familiar with him. We are looking explicitly at deploying in industrial environments, so off-highway, in controlled environments, albeit extremely challenging for our customers and partners. And our customers are fleet operators. So this is a B2B business model. And we're providing an end-to-end solutions for the likes of, say, a DHL or a significant port operator, like, for example, DP World. So that's the target market. That's how you conceptualize how we're deploying this technology today. We are predicated on providing a safe, explainable solution. So key, obviously, and this is applicable really to the physical AI space, irrespective of which industrial vertical it applies to, be it biology or what we're doing. The safety and explainability of that technology is obviously completely mission critical. That underlines everything that we do and is the foundation of our go-to-market strategy, building on over 10 years of research and active deployment to date. Today we've raised $350 million. We've been to market to raise capital 4 times, and we're in the early stages of commercialization and anticipating hockey stick growth over the coming years. So early stages have been successful in fundraising, and in our target markets areas of focus, we expect to see very significant uptake over the next 5 to 7 years. So there we go, perfect. Trend-wise, really where we see a good way to conceptualize what the industrial mobile autonomy space looks like. Really think of it as the next evolution away from the fixed automation that is already very much an adoption. Fixed automation in industrial environments is nothing new, typically operating on fixed routes, a lot of the time on tracks. Smart warehouses, of course, are nothing new. Smaller robots. Really what we're bringing to market is something that can be augmenting the existing solutions and provide smart fleet dynamics that enable complete automation across a fleet operator's diverse fleet. And I'll go into that in a few minutes, because the fact that we can operate a mixed fleet autonomously is a massive value add, and again speaks to why the adoption of this technology is ultimately inevitable. Critically, and I guess this is the key takeaway that Oxa will always remind people of, we are putting physical AI to work where industry needs it most. So we've developed a universal driver. The autonomy stack itself can enable automation of any vehicle type. We're focused on bringing this to market in the industrial sectors because that is where the greatest customer pull is today. It is where the world needs it most. It's where the industry, the industrial sectors that we're looking to support and improve needs it most. And that is why we're choosing to focus on this segment. And I think conceptually that's probably easy enough to grasp. There are millions of vehicles driving in industrial environments globally, billions and billions of dollars spent on running those vehicles. I'll come on to this in a few minutes, but OPEX savings available of between 60 and 80%, very significant motivation for the adoption of autonomy in these spaces. Something that sets the dynamic autonomy that we're able to unlock in industrial spaces versus what the world has been using for, say, the last 10 to 15 years in terms of fixed automation, is the elevated fleet performance that can be unlocked through the smart fleet application. So the orchestration layer that applies to how a mixed fleet can interact and wrap in things like task allocation, prioritization, minimizing downtime of vehicles, ensuring that all the vehicles know where the other vehicles are, and it can be integrated into an operating system by our fleet operator to enhance the actual performance of the fleet itself. It's not simply about taking the human driver out. What we're doing in terms of our actual focus in industrial sectors to frame that relatively simply. So you'll see Oxa's robotics solutions deployed in heavy industrial environments. So you're looking at things like very large terminal tractors deployed at ports. Similarly, in yard environments, you'd be classifying those as heavy industrial logistics. So you'd typically be moving very large containers, like you might see being moved quayside at a port. Very similarly, exactly the same vehicle type is used in yard environments before it's unpacked, put into smaller containers and moved by smaller vehicles. Light industrial logistics for Oxa, that means things like manufacturing facilities. So we're working with BMW on deploying dynamic autonomy within some of their manufacturing facilities. That's a smaller vehicle type, so hence light industrial logistics. Also airside. So airside is a huge application for autonomy. Fleet operators operating airside vehicles for movement of baggage and cargo have very significant fleet sizes. So Donata, for example, who are Emirates ground services provider, moving baggage, cargo, and also food, 15,000 airside vehicles alone globally. So very, very significant, and automation of those vehicles will unlock very significant value for them. Asset monitoring as well, which augments the other industrial verticals. At the moment, greatest customer pull in those segments from a security angle. So security and surveillance, we can deploy a robot that will alert the premises owners of any security breaches or potential concerns. So that's another obvious application. Quickly on the market potential. So obviously size of market for any company looking to bring new technology or a new application to market. We all spend a lot of time talking about TAM, SAMs, and SOMs, very significant for us. So our serviceable obtainable market, $31 billion a year. That is just in the applications that I previously mentioned. Very significant numbers of vehicles in these spaces, and we charge on an annual license fee basis. So that's an annually recurring revenue. That's our motivation, of course, as well as unlocking the value for our customers. And then finally, I said I'd get on to how we're breaking down some of the barriers to mass adoption so that we can unlock all of this value and circumnavigate some of the things that have previously been in the way for other solutions providers looking to scale significantly in this space. So as I said, we've spent the last 10 years specifically, having spun out of Oxford University, focusing on this. The tenure of people working in our business in this space outside Oxa far exceeds that. So whilst the company was founded in 2014, many of our team have been working their entire lives on this solution and looking to solve specifically these problems to enable mass adoption for decades at this point. So for us, really, systems integration is a really important piece, enabling our technology to be integrated into fleet operators' existing platforms. For a port, for example, they have existing terminal operating systems. We need to be able to integrate with their existing technology, otherwise the value will never be realized. The next point, the fleet, the actual nature of the fleet from our perspective, the fact that we have a universal autonomy platform which can be retrofitted and enable autonomy on any vehicle type means that we can retrofit to a customer's existing fleet, and it can be any number of different vehicle types. So that's another big differentiator for us. The regulation piece is obviously very important. So we underpinning everything that we do. Our solution is certified and will be satisfies all regulatory requirements for mass adoption within the industrial environments that we're looking to deploy into. Operationally, being able to integrate is very important. Being able to unlock the workflow optimization for our customers is very important. Again, a lot of the value with autonomy is not about just taking the human driver out. It's unlocking all of the value that's associated with enhancing performance of the fleet. Trust, safety, and security, I mentioned before. That's a big piece for us, and we have teams dedicated exclusively to that. And then cost commitment. So we're able to retrofit onto a customer's existing fleet such that their CapEx requirements are limited to the hardware stack that needs to be fitted onto a vehicle that they've already purchased. That is removing a significant barrier to market for them, and in due course they can buy new vehicles that might be software defined and integrated with Oxa's software, but for now we can provide them access to this technology without significant CapEx. For us and our solution, how we're delivering on all of these things is an end-to-end robotics solution. We have a modular autonomy stack that can be fitted to any vehicle type. We have Oxa Driver, which is the software, essentially the brain of the vehicle that enables it to drive itself. Oxa Foundry is where the machine learning aspect that trains the vehicles enables them to learn in real time, feed those learnings back to other vehicles, and operate essentially in a digital twin environment. So that's unlocking value for both us and our customers. Oxa Hub is essentially a modular suite of tools that our customers can use to integrate with their existing fleet control system so that they can dynamically control the vehicles, where they are, what they're doing, and ensuring that there's no downtime. So we offer an end-to-end solution that is not purely a kind of a software play, plug it in, they go off. There are some pieces missing that they then have to solve for themselves. This is an end-to-end solution that enables them to integrate with their existing business operations. The scalable end-to-end process from our perspective, and I should note that actually the intention of this slide is to highlight that for Oxa, our go-to-market evolves over time. Clearly, over time, there will be OEMs producing software-defined vehicles without drivers' cabs that are, from point of inception, designed to be driven by autonomy. And at that point, Ox's software will be embedded on the OEM production line with the requisite hardware so that the vehicle can roll off and it's ready to be autonomous. Until we're at that point where the OEMs are producing the requisite number of vehicles of this nature with the requisite drive-by-wire technology, we're able to integrate with existing fleets so that we can deploy today autonomously with vehicles that were never intended to be autonomous, which is a huge enabler for us to spike this market. So we have a base vehicle that we'll retrofit to. The AV kit has been developed in-house and we've retrofitted today by our team, but in due course, as we scale by third-party providers. We have software and commissioning support in-house that ensures that the customer can use our technology. The end-to-end solution is certified so that a customer like Amazon can use the technology in its industrial environments. And then the deployment and runtime is also supported by Oxus, so end-to-end robotics solution so that we can unlock maximum possible value for our customers. Autonomy is inevitable. There was one additional slide that we'd slotted in, but I think we probably missed the cutoff. So I wanted to highlight really in terms of key figures, why our customer for us, it's such a no-brainer, and the adoption of this technology is not a point of, it's not a hypothetical conversation at this point. So our customers, and I'll use the port space as an example, they are seeing, from the ROI modeling conducted, 60 to 80%, in due course, 60 to 80% reduction in overall total cost of fleet ownership, which is extremely material. We're looking at, for them, a return on investment period that in the port space, for example, in European ports in North America, the return on investment for them is less than a year, so it's a very, very quick return on investment, somewhere in the region of 6 months, because they're only paying for the hardware kit that fits onto the vehicle. And they're looking at, from a port perspective, increased throughput of around 30%, which is very material because, of course, a port operator has its own customers, and the enhanced speed at which they can move vehicles and goods through the quayside environment impacts their ability to generate top-line revenue. So it's very compelling from their perspective. It's not purely about removing a human driver. Obviously, that unlocks very significant costs because typically for every vehicle in a port environment, you'd have somewhere between 3 and 4 human drivers employed full-time for that one vehicle because of downtime, shift breaks, shift changes, holidays, etc. But it's also a very significant optimization piece, which is really compelling. So essentially, autonomy is inevitable. We can go into huge amounts of detail on this, but kind of those key takeaways are really important. Economically, it makes a huge amount of sense for our customers. We are making this possible today, so that's really important. We don't have to wait for the vehicle manufacturers to catch up and produce these autonomous vehicles at scale. We can deploy today, and because our autonomy platform is agnostic as to vehicle type, we evolve with the availability of these underlying vehicles so that we can deploy on software-defined vehicles when they're available and being produced at mass scale in, say, 3 to 4 years. We are providing that pathway, therefore, to mass scale of adoption for our customers, like a DHL, for example, to start today and have a direct line of sight to automate, say, all 5,000 of their airside ground support vehicles at airports on a global basis. So our customers see that direct line of sight to scale. Trust and safety at the heart of everything, as is important with any new technology. We're enabling global export opportunities, so we are already exporting this technology internationally. We'll be live in Jebel Ali port within the next 2 to 3 months. Hence this sort of sovereign AI concept, UK-generated AI being exported and a global partnership with another state entity, really defining what it means to be a sovereign AI player. So that's a huge opportunity for Oxo, a huge opportunity for the UK. We are fueling economic growth and job creation. This is why it's of huge interest to our partners in Dubai, for example. Massive economic opportunity there. 110% of their gross domestic product is export, 95% of it is import. Logistics is critically important. That is just one example of many countries who are reliant on logistics for their economic health. And finally, of course, driving the UK's national industrial strategy and advanced manufacturing sector plan, because we are a UK homegrown business looking to bring this physical AI technology to market at scale. Thank you.